Welcome everyone to the 2024 Memorial Championship. We have moved over to Vista del Camino, playing the XL layout myself, Jennifer Allen, Violet Main, Ohn Scoggins, and Hannah Stefanovich. Katarina did an amazing job co-commentating with me. This is round 3, front 9, and I'm flying this ship solo, so bear with me here. We wanted to get this coverage out to you as soon as possible. Speaking of that, huge shout out to Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, and Dustin for getting all of this film for us. This is hole number 1. It is 284 feet. This is a par 3. You see the triple mando there that you must go under. There is OB line all along the left side, and then coming in about circle 1 edge behind the basket. If you can make it over that fence on the right, that is also OB. Took a horrible skip and kick over there to the left side. We had a new announcer here today, so we kind of were getting things ready. The park looks empty, but we had several that came out to watch us. Violet also going a little long and finding the OB as well. Ohn hitting the line perfectly. She's going to bank off the side of the hill there and slide right on down to the edge of circle 1. It's exactly how you want to play this shot. Nice and low. Unfortunately, Hannah releases too high.
The first time.
She has done this before in the Shelly, so sometimes takes a couple to get going early in the morning.
Okay.
The ground out at Vista is very dry. You get a lot of ground play, so throwing this low shot like she did on the second one is exactly how you want to slide up to the basket. Just trying to pitch it up to have that tap in bogey. Good strong bid. Not how anyone wants to start the first hole. And that is unfortunately something that we see out here quite a bit at Vista. These baskets tend to be a little mean to us. So this is where Violet went OB. Great lift on these elevated baskets, but splashes out as well. So Ohn is going to tap in that par, but the rest of us, unfortunately, had a bit of a rough start here on hole 1 today. It's a double bogey for Hannah. I'm going to tap in for the bogey as well as Violet. Hole number 2 is a 415-foot par 3. You can decide if you want to go on the left side of this tree right here or the right. Either way, you want to slide past these pine trees. The basket sits back there right behind the last one. OB fence, OB sidewalk doesn't typically come into play on this one. We do get the advantage of choosing if we want to tee on the dirt or choose the tee pads. Spot Ohn tends to find every time she plays it. Trying to play that destroyer all the way around the backside and get a big skip. Sliding into circle 1, I believe. Violet trying to take the same line. And that's going to be a look. Very easy to catch a few of those branches and it'll kick you straight down. Hannah's going to be able to hyzer past them, and that's okay to be on that left side. If you can get far enough on the left, you kind of have a little bit of a look because the branches over here on the right side do tend to hang down and eliminate much of a putt. Ohn was able to do that same shot at the Shelly Sharp, but skipped it in for the 2. Looks like she's going to settle for a par this time. Hannah was expecting that to skip a little bit more to the left, but she's inside circle 1. Not too many baskets that are normal height, so this is a fun one to run. Probably the farthest that I've been on this hole before. So I wanted to give it a strong bid and just too high up above the basket. So unfortunately, take a skip that I think is a little bit longer. I'm outside circle 1 now. Hannah and I are trying to decide who's out. I believe it's me because she is right inside the circle. Trying to focus. I actually had a delivery guy behind me in the parking lot, and I looked right over at him, completely misfired. So unfortunately, I wasted the best drive I had on that, and that's not a good feeling. Not the start I wanted at all. And Vista's definitely one of those courses. We always have a lot of walkers, a lot of bikers, people in the parking lots at these apartments. So busy park, something that you have to get used to throughout the day here. So Hannah's going to tap out that bogey as well. Violet and Ohn discussing their great end of a disc there. I honestly didn't know that Ohn threw a gator either. She typically throws that rock or that Firebird we see her park baskets with all the time. They're going to tap in their pars there. Big shout out to Spinners on the Green and Discraft for putting on this event. Hole number 3, 360-foot par 3. Again, you can take the direct line straight at the basket or take that big hyzer over around the right side. Very tiny place that you can go OB there in that ditch, and the OB over the fence and sidewalk again as it tracks down this entire park. Ohn really getting a lot more distance. She has finally admitted to us that she is throwing it a little bit further.
Get out of that ditch. Get out of that ditch. Yeah, there you go. That was so close.
So that is that one little area that you can find the OB. Violet staying out of it.
It should be past it.
Yeah, a little too much turn. Didn't seem like too much wind, but both Violet and I getting those to flip over more than we wanted to. I think we scared Hannah because Hannah put no turn on her, so she is going to hyzer over there. Thankfully, that pine tree drops that down, so she did not go OB across the sidewalk. Does leave for a very tricky approach. Going to be able to sneak past that tree and slide right up to the basket. is not how Violet and I wanted to start the day. We had a nice tournament going so far, both playing very solid, and we are just giving strokes to Ohn right and left. And that's not something that we need to do because everyone knows Ohn is absolutely incredible. Number 2 player in the world, and I believe number 1 in putting. As you can see, there's another, or the first birdie of the day for Ohn. That one did stay. 11 elevated baskets out here at Vista and a few more at other heights. Just needing to shake this rough start, get things going. A little bit of nerve. She's going to switch back to her waffle putt, which she is pretty deadly with. I did confirm Violet was not a basketball player. She was a volleyball player. She loves that, knowing that she can just hit that dead straight where she's going to at least catch something to the basket. Typically always goes in. This is Hannah to save the par. Dead center. Great save from that drive that highs it out over towards the OB line. I'm going to tap in this par as well. We're going to move over to hole number 4. Hole 4 is 381 feet. This is a par 3. You can take the hyzer route going big around the branches that have really grown out the last few years, or try to sneak through on the left side of it. That angle is pretty tough because you do not want to hyzer out over there on the left side, which is OB, as well as all the way around the basket. Ohn taking the straight line, cutting right to the left of the tree, and she's going to be just fine. Let that go a little too high, so it's going to drop down a little bit quicker, but makes it around the tree. Hannah taking the same route, but trying to go low, get that skip past, and she does. That's a beautiful drive. Anywhere in there gives you that nice approach to the basket. Really just playing this for par, not a hole that is birdied often. See a few throw-ins here or there. Violet's trying to do my route, but that disc flips on her again, but not one, but 2 bounces and a roll is going to get Violet well back inside safe. That would have not only been OB, but a disc she probably never would have got back. So this is Ohn just laying up for the par. You can see that that ground is very hard, lots of ground play. Violet having to duck underneath the branch, but she's still thankful there was no penalty shot added, but approach goes a little long, probably about 20 feet or so. Hannah with a little soft bid. She was all over circle 2 putts over at Fountain Hills, so hopefully she can get that going again. Just outside circle 1. Thought that I had it, felt good out of the hand, felt like it had the power, just dropped a little too soon. So Violet's going to need this long putt to save par. Getting it closer. She at least drew some metal just on that right side. Hopefully she will bring that all the way into the center of the basket by the next hole. Ohn and myself tapping in those pars, as well as Hannah. And Violet, unfortunately, giving up another stroke. Hole number 5, 386 feet hole. This is the par 4. We have mandos on the right. We have a double mando right there in front of the basket. They both have their own drop zones. This is a par 4 for the women, par 3 for the men. Is a soft par, so you just want to play that straight shot. On hyzer distance, just puts her right in that spot, anywhere in there. You pitch up, you get that easy tap in birdie. I dropped to the rock, trying not to go past, and I just pulled it, trying to throw it a little too hard, dropped into the rock. Missing that mando, which I have not done too often. Hannah has a dead straight line at it. This is going to be good. Hopefully doesn't get too big of a skip. And that's a great angle over there. Puts a little more hyzer. More comfortable with the forehand. You can try to land a little bit more to the right side. The backhand hyzer is great on that left side. Violet gets a perfect drive. That's going to scoot right there, dead center.
For the first time throwing that hole, I am happy with that.
I was like, that's the first time I've ever missed the mando.
A lot of firsts for us out there. This isn't a first, but something I don't do often, especially I've never really practiced that drop zone because I don't miss it, but able to make the next 2 mandos. I'm going to be kind of right on the edge of circle 1. Hannah with a great approach. Drawn metal on that elevated basket for the tap-in birdie. Ohn says I'll do the same. It's a little bit of a bounce. And Violet doesn't want anything to do with it either, because that tap-in birdie is all she needs to try to get things going. Nice long putt to save the par. We have been so blessed this week with some amazing weather. It was supposed to be really windy these last 2 days of the event. So far, those trees are not moving very much. So I'm going to take the par. Everyone else on the card is going to tap in those birdies. Big shout out to all these local sponsors who help bring you this coverage. This is hole 6, 783 feet. This is a par 5. Going to try to land that first shot around here. You're going to take another second huge drive to about this area. Then try to sneak underneath the branch, stay safe, and get your birdie. You have OB lining the fairway on both sides all the way down. So you can take the forehand or the turnover route that way. Make sure it doesn't hyzer off too much so it stays safe, because there is that line on the left side. Or you can take the hyzer route. You can even go perfectly straight at it and try to get in between the tree that's right in front of the tee box and the pine tree there. So Hannah shows us exactly that route I was talking about. That is the way to get the most distance possible, just taking a straight line at it. Gets a little difficult if we get a headwind, but we didn't really feel too much. This is the same disc that keeps flipping on Violet, so I'm not sure what that was. She said it was brand new, but it continues to turn on her. I'm going Destroyer. Mine is stable, but it decides to flip up as well, which didn't turn over, just went a mile. So I am unfortunately finding the very small section of OB in the ditch
Violet, that was a
straight in front of me, but must have been a little bit of a tunnel wind along the row of houses there. Ohn just going with a simple hyzer, just pitching her way up the fairway, trying to stay safe, which is the main thing. You can get a par if you continue just to progress up the fairway and stay away from the OB lines. That's a beautiful turnover shot from Violet, but unfortunately takes a couple of skips too many, and she's going to cross over that OB line on the left. Hannah going with the hyzer, trying to get around these two trees that are really kind of getting very thick. They are grabby and they do not really let you punch through, but thankfully it dropped. We do play the 2-meter rule is in effect for this event. So the previous card, or the card in front of us, is still on the green. I had about 380 to the tree, so since I went OB, I'm going to try to get every bit of that and try to still save par. Do get the skip and made it up towards circle 1. So made it to the green, throwing 2, gonna be counting 3. Here's Hannah trying to get all the way around there as well. And I believe that stayed in bounds. Gonna be right on the line. Ohn really cranking that over to the left, but gets that huge flare skip. Bounces are inside circle 1. And Violet pulls that without any hyzer on it and just scoots dead straight. She was expecting it to flare skip, but it didn't. It stayed flat. Didn't have the angle on it, so unfortunately that's back-to-back OB throws by Violet. So Hannah's safe, but really it's so hard to get an elevated putt at that because those branches are hanging down. Nick, Hannah's fiance, was behind there and definitely wanted her to lay that up and not be aggressive with it. I have decided to do the same thing. There's no reason to go for that birdie when I can save a par after OB stroke. I'm quite happy with that. So this is Ohn just barely inside the circle 1. And she drills that pole dead center every time. So that gap that I had on Ohn is now dwindled to 1 stroke. So unfortunately, that is a bogey for Violet. And Hannah and I are going to take in the pars, and we're going to walk across Roosevelt and go to the other side, XL side of Vista del Camino. Big shout out to 6-sided disc. Here's hole 7. This is 645 feet. This is a par 5. You have the OB sidewalk on the right as well as the street up there. Do not cross this sidewalk, as well as make sure you're to the right of that mando to make it inside the island green. If you can get that drive down the fairway far enough, you can decide if you want to go for the green or just lay up, and still you can pitch up and get the birdie. So Ohn just trying to get right to the center. This flips up, but it should hyzer back there, getting that little bit of a skip. That's going to give her the most distance she could get. And that's a great spot to approach. Want to be over there on that right side. Let that go a little high, but it's going to dive in. Right in the middle, but just a little bit shorter than I typically am, and I didn't quite realize that until I'm watching it now. Violet gets a nice straight shot, but this hyzer's too far over to the left. It does make it very difficult to approach the green. So you want to land towards the middle or along that right side if you're a right-hand backhand thrower. Lefty, that's a tough approach no matter where you are. Right side is probably quite a bit easier for you as well. So Ohn's going big, but just to lay up. So she's kind of eating up a little bit of that distance by taking it nice and high, just so she doesn't cross that path. Violet pitching up towards the sidewalk as well. So I'm going to try to go for the island. This is a brand new Halo Firebird. I just put in the bag, a little more stable than the Champion Firebird that I had pulled and switched with. So unfortunately I cut into that mando tree just enough on the back side of it that it falls and misses the island. Hannah's taking it way to the right to miss the mando, and that's going to dive in there perfectly. Now Ohn's going to approach the green. Looks like it's right on the target. Tapping the pole. That'll be another tap in birdie for Ohn. She has came out to play today, having an awesome front nine. Violet running at the basket as well. Cuts right in front of it. Gonna skip close to about 25 feet. So a little bit of a crosswind. I decided not to go with the forehand. This is a touchy distance for my Toro. Tried to take away a little bit of the distance. Unfortunately, it takes a huge skip. Is not the correct disc for that shot. And just couldn't get the height on that. Be difficult to keep the elevated putt high when you're out towards that circle's edge. Really have to let it go high. And Violet just not on the putt today. She has been putting so well. Dead center for Hannah. That's a beautiful birdie. There it is. So Violet's going to save par. No damage done. Unfortunately, I'm going to give Ohn one more stroke, so that is going to tie things up for the moment. But I'm pretty sure Ohn's going to make this birdie putt. If she didn't, it would have been a basket malfunction, I'm sure of it. So now Ohn has jumped in front by one. Violet and Hannah now battling it out for third. And we're to the famous water hole, hole number 8. This is 360-foot par 3. Try not to get caught up in those pine trees along the left. You must make it all the way up to the grass. You can pitch off safe over there on the right side, and you have the OB sidewalk, as you can see, that comes all the way around, kind of making that just a complete island over there that we're throwing to. Ohn getting plenty of distance. A little bit of a roll is going to take her just outside of circle 1. Hannah cranking it out hard. And unfortunately, she pulled it over a little bit too much. Going to get caught up in those branches. And very rarely have I seen anyone hit those branches and stay safe. Violet misses the branches, almost goes too deep. She is going to fall into that little bit of a hole, which is going to stay safe. She needed that. We need to get something going to keep pushing Ohn here. Going with the Halo Rock 3. Absolutely love my Tour series. I will give that a shout out. Great disc if you haven't tried it. Hannah going with the forehand approach. Putting her about 28-ish. Didn't really get a great roll. So this is Violet for birdie. She is well outside the circle. Almost gets it to fall. This is one of our baskets out here that is not elevated, but it's not standard size either. So it's kind of a weird in between. And with that being just a hair higher than normal, unfortunately, that's a hair too low. So Ohn is going to settle for par. Hannah gets it up high enough to save the bogey. It's a great putt.
That's happened before, but with Holcomb. He's in Holcomb's bra.
Finally feeling like it's going in the right direction. That's a birdie to bring me back tied to Ohn, 13. Violet for par. And just like that, that's going to wrap up the front 9 after we play this next hole. Goes so much faster when you're watching it than you're walking that. So here it is, the last hole, hole 9. This is 324-foot par 3. You do see that OB lake all along the left side, as well as the sidewalk that comes along the right side and behind the basket, just outside circle 1. I want to try to throw a straight shot that finishes to the left if you're a right-hand backhand thrower. Going with the Rock X3. Wanting that to cut in a little bit quicker than it did, but I'm going to be around circle 1. Oh, going with that go-to yellow destroyer that you see all the time. And it doesn't really want to cut in too quick either. So I think that headwind, as you can see the ripples on the water, is starting to finally show its face. Violet gets great height. That should dump left. There it comes and gets that little bit of skip. She's going to go towards the back side of circle 1. That's a good place to be because she's not going to be putting straight at the water where Ohn and I will be. That cut rolled into the lake for Hannah, unfortunately. Little too low, little too much angle. And that is a very hard place to throw from. You've got to tuck around and underneath all these pine branches. Finally getting up there. Water's pretty high today. Sometimes that'll go low and we will have a bank that we can safely land into, just like Ohn's putt landed in. She's like, not this time, basket, weird height. Gets it high enough. Over the edge, little flutter. Drops down that tailwind. You can see now going from right to left. So Unfortunately, the tailwind pulled that putt down. Hits the pole, stays right there for tap in par for Violet. Barely able to get that over the edge as well. That's going to be a birdie for myself. So Ohn and I staying tied up, finishing this front 9. Unfortunately, gave Ohn all those strokes I had earned at Fountain Hills. So we will be battling it out for first at the moment. Violet is in second. And on this card, Hannah is on in 4th place. But we'll see if that chase card is battling back. There's a lot of close scores coming into this round. So here we have Katarina is at even for the day. So she is just a few behind Violet now, jumping Hannah. We'll see how this shakes out after the back 9.